Marquette from the Dispatch also rejoins us. Nice to finally have you here. Let me just ask you right out of the gate, how you wanted to run for governor. What happened there? Why did you not seek the Republican nomination for governor?
Well, candidly, I didn't think John Kasich was going to pull the trigger and run, and so I thought there was an opportunity to run at this time. At the end of the day, I didn't think that I could put together enough of a credible primary challenge to him in a short period of time to really make it a race. And, you know, I've been doing this since I was 26 years old. I've just turned 40. Ann and I kind of looked around and said, maybe we need to not run for anything in 2010, take a couple years, go out and pursue some commercial interests, and then look for an opportunity to run for something down the road.
Some people were surprised, that I've spoken to, were surprised that you were not encouraged to run for something else, auditor or some other race. Were you ever approached by the state Republican Party to be on the ticket?
I made it very clear early on when I first said that I was interested in running for governor, that I was either going to run for governor or I was going to go out in the private sector. And I stuck to that.
A couple rumors that are out there, let's put them on the table and address them. One is that you might head Republicans for Governor Strickland. Is that true?
No, not at all. I've heard the other rumor. I know the next question you're going to ask. I don't know where that comes from, this idea that I would switch parties. I'm a conservative. At this snapshot in history, the Republican Party is much closer to my views than any other party out there. So I'm not looking to switch parties at all. I will say, though, and I've had a history of standing up to the party when I think it's wrong, or taking an independent position from here and there. I really do believe the political parties today, in many ways, have become irrelevant to the average citizen, to the average voter. They don't care about party talking points. I don't spew them. I get a question, I give a straight answer, and sometimes the party doesn't like what I have to say, but they seem to like it when I win elections.
It's safe to say, though, that you're not exactly out on the stump with John Kasich. Correct? I mean, that's just my impression.
Well,
correct me if I'm wrong, but seemingly you're not enthused about the head of the Republican ticket.
I haven't been asked, and I don't support people if I don't get asked to do it. So that's where that is. Look, I think that this is a crucial year in Ohio. This governor's race is important. I don't think it's going to be a Republican year or a Democrat year. I think it's going to be based on the individual strength of candidates and their campaigns, and so as you go down the ballot on election night, you're going to see a mixed bag of results. And some candidates are doing better than others, and there's some time to go before November.
And you weren't surprised that the NRA endorsed Governor Strickland and not John Kasich?
No, I'm not surprised about that at all. I think that that's consistent with what I've been hearing out there on the stump, and I think it's got to be a concern. Because if you're running against an incumbent governor in Ohio and you're a Republican, it's a tough race to begin with. You really have to keep together what I call the Reagan coalition, the holy triumvirate of pro-life, anti-tax, and pro-gun voters, and you really can't afford to give any of those away.
Could Kasich win without the NRA?
It's going to be awfully tough unless he's got some super appeal with independents, or he has the ability to counterbalance that by picking up one of Strickland's traditional groups. But I can't identify a group that right now is just chomping to vote for Republicans.
Major approach out of the gate by the Strickland campaign was to really talk about Kasich's background with the Lehman Brothers. Positioning as this race between Wall Street values and Main Street values. How do you think that's going to play in Ohio this year, particularly given the discussion we've seen on the national level about reining in the financial industry and not just this anger at Wall Street and what happened with the recession?
I think it's an effective issue, and you're seeing it being used already, and they're taking the summer to define John Kasich, and they're doing it effectively, and I think that'll just intensify as you get into the fall. It undermines his ability to campaign as a reformer and an outsider, and so I think the Democrats are being very smart in exploiting that, and it is a very serious issue because you've got real people who were hurt, who lost their savings and their retirements and really lost the American dream, and that particular company was the epicenter and the cause of the market collapse and really a lot of the problems we're having in the economy today. So, for Republicans to say that, well, we've got to just ignore it or how dare anybody bring it up. It's really not an adequate response. And so I don't know how they compensate for it, but it is a tough issue and a tough one. Look, the overall concern, I think, for any rational thinking Republican right now is that we've got a huge anti-incumbent wave sweeping the country. The Strickland administration has had a lot of challenges. I don't believe he has a moral argument to make for re-election. We have 11% unemployment, and yet despite all that, John Kasich's losing by 5 points or so in just about every poll. Any Republican candidate for governor in Ohio right now, under these conditions, should be up by 8 to 10 points.
I've spoken to Republicans that are frustrated with that very point, that there has not been at least a paid response to the constant Wall Street painting that's going on from Democrats in the Strickland camp. Is it your instinct or your guess that they might be looking at internal campaign polls that show them much stronger with independents than maybe we're figuring out? I mean, is that the only plausible explanation of why you wouldn't try to prevent that being painted as Mr. Wall Street in an anti-Wall Street environment?
Internal polls generally are different, and when you get into the crosstabs, they do show you more than a lot of the public polls that are done. But there are so many public polls being done, and they're so consistent. You get a pretty good snapshot of where we are. I just don't. Look, there's a lot of time to go before November. Both of these campaigns can go in a lot of different directions, and events can shape the election. But I think that at least for that race, you know, there's cause for concern. It's a toss-up. Everybody in D.C. calls it a toss-up race. I would still say it's a toss-up race too, but advantage to Strickland at this time. Other racers are going very well. I have a high degree of confidence in Rob Portman that he's going to win the Senate race. Very competent and likable guy, campaigns very well, raises a lot of money, and I think Ohioans are going to like him as they get to know him. And as you go down the ticket, we've got a lot of good things going on there too.